What up, this is your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're watching Lights Out.
This is Faisal for Lights Out, proudly sponsored by Spartans Law. We're here in London, in Camden Town. Delighted to be joined by Eddie Hearn. Eddie, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Looking forward to a massive card on Saturday. And big fight for Dillian Whyte, but a big fight for a lot of fighters on the undercard as well.
I mean, the week already started off pretty entertaining with that face-off around the table between Dillian and Jermaine. Dillian's a couple of comments such as, I'm going to knock the braids off of your head, and if we stepped outside, I'll intimidate you. But what did you make of the face-off, and how well did you think Jermaine handled that, being as the first time he's in the spotlight?
I think it's difficult when you've not really been in that situation before. You know, sometimes a fighter can be a little bit timid with eye contact. It doesn't mean that they're not ready to fight. It just means that's not their style. And I think Jermaine, you know, he got into it, but Dillian smelt a little bit of that and sort of stuck it on him. And it was entertaining. I thought the guy in the middle was exceptional. That was me. But it's a good heavyweight fight, and, you know, looking forward to it on Saturday.
What can we expect from Jermaine Franklin? We know what Dillian Whyte brings to the table. What does Jermaine Franklin bring to the table?
Skill, ability, pedigree. You know, to the outsider, from the UK fans, like Jermaine Franklin, this is a comeback fight for Dillian Whyte. This is a very good fighter. This is a guy who the American boxing scene know. They know he's got good pedigree. He's a Golden Gloves champion. He was a good amateur as well. And he can fight. He's got a good training team. He's got an outstanding promoter in Dimitri Salita, one of the best in the game, because he's over there. And, you know, Dillian Whyte's coming off a knockout loss. So if you're Jermaine Franklin, you're smelling it. Yeah. You know, and Dillian's coming off a loss. There's a lot of pressure on him on Saturday night. For Jermaine, he's thinking, I win this fight, I'll transform my life. I fight Anthony Joshua, I make millions of dollars, and you're one punch away. And it's a very dangerous fight.
I mean, given the fact that the winner will face Anthony Joshua, how much more of a must-win fight is this for Dillian Whyte coming off the back of a world title defeat against Tyson Fury in April?
Yeah, I mean, the pressure's on Dillian Whyte because he's got to keep his world championship dreams alive. He's got to keep his big fight dreams alive, and defeat ruins all of that for him. So, you know, he's got to make sure he's switched on Saturday.
We talk about what's next for Anthony Joshua. You mentioned that a fight with Deontay Wilder was mentioned. We've obviously spoken about the Tyson Fury fight, but is 100% the next fight for Anthony Joshua the winner between Jermaine Franklin and Dillian Whyte?
He's definitely the front runner. I mean, look, if it's Dillian Whyte, you want to do that in a big stadium, and maybe that comes in the summer, maybe that comes at the end of spring, I don't know. But for Jermaine Franklin, if he was to win on Saturday, for sure, you know, we'd look to stick him straight in, really, with Anthony Joshua. But he's going to be watching on Saturday, AJ, and his date will be announced soon as well.
I know you said that you've not given up on hope between a mega clash for Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, and you said that all it takes is one meeting. But from your side, it seems quite simple to make. But how confident are you that there will be that chance of that fight happening next year?
I've always believed that fight will happen. You know, and sometimes people lose faith in it, but I just feel like the fight's so big. That fight really gets made when no one's expecting it. You know, someone gets together and goes, look, let's stop messing around, let's make this fight. And that could happen at any time. But, you know, obviously he's got Chisora coming up, and we'll see what happens next year.
Parker Ryder on Saturday night for the interim WBL Super Middleweight Championship of the World. The winner of that fight, rightfully so, will want Canelo Alvarez next. Eddie, has there been any sort of update in what Canelo does next? Can we expect a rematch with Bivol next for him?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Eddie Reynoso, and obviously it looks like the plan is to try and fight Bivol in September and have kind of an interim fight in May. Obviously he's just coming off the operation, but we'll sit down with him and map out the year, and obviously Dimitri Bivol as well, because he's going to want to know what's happening and plan his year as well.
Eddie, you spent a lot of time in the Middle East over the last few years, in Saudi, in Dubai. I mean, you've put on a lot of shows there. I'm pretty sure you've had a good time out there as well. But what did you make of the BBC not airing the opening ceremony of the World Cup on Sunday night?
Yeah, I don't know. It's always difficult. You know, I think that at the end of the day, it's the World Cup. I understand sometimes the backlash, but, you know, from when we receive criticism from going there, I genuinely feel like these people are trying to use sport to have a positive influence on the community, on the country. And I saw firsthand what those events did for particularly younger people in the community. I saw them coming out for the workouts, I saw them coming out to shows, I saw them see their heroes in the flesh. So if you want to try and inspire change, I think sport is a positive way to do it. And I think if you want to talk about the messaging around those countries, you have the platform to do that. But I don't necessarily feel like boycotting certain parts of a tournament. At the end of the day, you're airing the tournament. right? So why not show the opening ceremony? You're showing all the matches, but to be honest with you, I don't know too much about it, but I don't know.
Given the fact that we're 4 days into the tournament, there's still so much negativity surrounding what goes on in Qatar with migrant workers and human rights and the LGBT community. Do you think that any chance we're going to look back on this tournament and think it was an actual success? And what do you make of how the tournament's panned out so far?
Well, at the end of the day, if you meet it with just pure negativity, then I don't think that you can have an opportunity to see what the positive effects it could do. What about, is there a positive effect that bringing a World Cup, can it inspire change? Can it inspire the community? Can it improve messaging? And all these broadcasters and platforms have an opportunity to air the World Cup, but also apply those messages while they're doing it. But I think if you're going to air it, I had this thing all the time. People came to the, it might be Sky News might say to me, how do you feel about bringing AJ and Ruiz to Saudi Arabia? I said, well, you're showing it on pay-per-view. So, and BBC would say the same, and it was on 5 Live, but I understand, I've staged, really it's Saudi and Qatar that really get that pure rap in terms of human rights, but I've seen the positive effect of those events. I've seen it with my own eyes, and that's the best way to see it.
You said that you expect 2023 to be a better year for boxing, and hopefully we're going to get those big fights. One of those fights that we haven't been able to see yet is a 147-pound undisputed clash between Terence Crawford and Spence. From an outsider's point of view, Eddie, why do you think that fight has not been made yet? And when can we expect you to sort of step in and say, well, do you know what, if they can't make it, I'm more than happy to do it on the zone?
I did think about that today, but I think, more importantly, it's more about the fight not quite being as big as people think the fight is. Do you know what I mean? Because if the fight was big enough, then it would get made. But see you, mate. See you tomorrow. Yeah? But ultimately, it's not that big, because if it was, people would put the money up for that fight. So, we'll see. Obviously, he'll have his fight, and hopefully that fight gets made in 2023.
Final one before I let you go, Eddie, because I know you've done a number of interviews today. You've spoken about John Fury, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, the whole rivalry. You've said that is beyond YouTube boxing. Now, we saw Tommy Fury feature on a DAZN card. We understand that he's still sort of contracted to Frank Warren in Queensbury. Now, would you be interested in making that fight and putting it on DAZN between Jake Paul and Tommy Fury?
Jake Paul's got his own business. I saw, was it Global Titans made an offer? Jake Paul's not going to work with Global Titans. I don't know anything about them, but I know what's going on in his mind. But it's a good fight. It's a big fight. Hopefully they get it made.
Eddie Hearn, thank you for your time and thank you for talking to us.